Good afternoon. Hi, my name is David Taylor, and I'm General Manager of a network of higher education organisations called BusyNet. BusyNet has 129 members across 36 countries. And the session we're going to be doing today, we're going to look at how BusyNet operates as a facilitator for the development of projects. And two of those projects are going to be demonstrated today by two people responsible for those projects, and I'll introduce those in a moment. The purpose of today's meeting really is, or one of the purposes, is to demonstrate the value of being in a network. How can a network help? How can being a part of a group of institutions and organizations help you achieve your organizational goals? The two projects we're going to demonstrate or discuss today are two projects which have been developed at conferences of the BusyNet network in something which we call working groups. Working groups are either a curriculum area, so for example, marketing or entrepreneurship or health and social care, or they're what we call special interest groups, something like internationalization at home or research, for example. Now, within those groups, discussions are held about a whole myriad of things. But one of the things that we do is to discuss potential issues and how we can address those issues within projects. Now, they may be funded projects, they may be projects which we do as without funding. But the two projects we're going to be talking about today are both funded by the European Union's Erasmus Plus program. So let me introduce you to the two speakers. The first person to speak is a lady called Yvonne Veron, who is a partner in an organization called Projects Beyond Borders. Now, Yvonne has a vast experience in education and started this partnership with two other people a number of years ago. And she will explain what Projects Beyond Borders do within her presentation. The second person is Rob DeWitt. And I want to thank Rob for standing in at the last moment, because Alan Lawrence was to do this presentation, but Alan is unfortunately ill. So Rob has stood in at the last minute. So thank you for that, Rob. Rob is the chair of the BusyNet Entrepreneurs Group. He's also, in his day job, is working for Avans University of Applied Science in Breda in Holland. And he has his own business, At Work Solutions. And he's a specialist in sustainability. And Rob will introduce himself during his presentation on the third way. The third way being a project, again, developed through BusyNet going back to 2017. With that, I'm going to hand over to the first speaker being Yvonne. Yvonne, over to you.
Thank you, David. I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry for the delay. Trying to pick out the controls. Okay, good morning. Well, as David said, my name's Yvonne, and I'm part of the team that's working on a project called Entre MWB, which is the subject of our discussion today. It's a project that started its journey back in 2019, and it's looking at the relationship between mental health and entrepreneurship. Apologies, I've just gone too far forward. Excuse me one moment, I'm just going to stop sharing. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm actually missing a slide actually in the presentation. It's on my screen, but it's not on your screen. However, I'll just speak to it. So basically, our project was conceived back in 2019 following research that was publicising the relationship between entrepreneurship and mental illnesses in a range of different forms. It was brought to the wider attention of the international, the international attention by a range of presentations at Davos at the World Economic Forum in 2019. These conversations we then took back with us to the annual conference of BusyNet, which was being held in Belgrade that year in November. And that was actually our last face-to-face meeting, in fact, of the network. And we discussed these particular topics in two of the groups that David mentioned, both the entrepreneurship special interest group and also the curriculum area group, health and social matters. And that's where the seeds of our project came to life, as it were. And that time, of course, we were blissfully unaware of the global pandemic that was waiting around the corner, which then served to amplify the effect and place a greater emphasis on the importance of mental well-being. Entrepreneurs obviously provide economic benefit to any society in which they operate, yet little consideration at that time had been given to any mental well-being in an increasingly challenging business environment. You should have a different slide at the moment, but it's not showing. There are around 582 million people, according to Dell, who spoke at Davos, which is almost 8% of the global global population that have devoted their life to entrepreneurship. Yet little consideration has been given to their qualitative experience. Caught up with the presentation now. And as the nature of employment across Europe and globally changes towards an emphasis on micro businesses, an enterprise that relies on young people moving into and setting up startup companies, it's important that the consideration of the effect and the sustainability is given priority. According to one of the presentations at Davos, almost half of the entrepreneurs in the world suffer from at least one mental health condition during their lifetime, and these conditions include ADHD, bipolar disorder, and a range of addictive disorders. In fact, research by Freeman, again 2019, cited at Davos, has shown that startup founders are particularly vulnerable to mental health disorders. So as David mentioned, this is an Erasmus Plus project, and whilst the initial project took shape pre-COVID, we actually made our application just as the pandemic was actually hitting us in March 2020. And as the realities of the pandemic unfolded before us in the months, in part of our application, we tried to include risk management, how we might mitigate the effect of not being able to meet and maybe not even be able to hit our deadlines or actually speak to the entrepreneurs that we were trying to support. So we put our application in, and we were successfully awarded funding in September that year. And the project actually started on the 31st of December, which is a significant day for the UK coordinator, as my company is the UK coordinator of this project. And it was, of course, the last day of the UK's membership of the European Union. We have 9 partners in the project, which come from 7 countries. And we think that our strength actually is in our partnership, and it lies in the diversity of the organisations in there. We've got 3 university partners, Rob's University Avans, we have UCLL in Belgium, Odyssey also in Belgium. But we also have an organisation in Lithuania who are a social business that deliver psychological support services. We have a Portuguese partner, IESH, who are a social enterprise themselves, but also a social enterprise school, so it can give us the social perspective. We have the N8, who are an organisation or a forum almost of educational technical companies for the in the Nordic states, and they join together with the universities, small enterprises, and also BusyNet, who are the perfect outlet for the dissemination to a wider audience. So our purposes of the project is to address the concerning effect that entrepreneurship has on the mental health of the entrepreneurs across Europe. And we're looking to support those entrepreneurs to ensure that the businesses that they develop that are efficient and that they continue to thrive, and support them with the educational materials to support their mental health and well-being. It was really important to the partnership. We wanted the project to be driven by the needs of entrepreneurs and not necessarily driven by the education side. So it's really important for us to engage with those entrepreneurs and to deliver meaningful training materials and awareness programs which support their health and well-being of new upcoming entrepreneurs. So the focus of our innovation is that we want to support young entrepreneurs to understand what they're letting themselves in for, basically. So to understand the qualitative dimension of being an entrepreneur, to prepare the young and the not so young for the challenges that lie ahead and the demands of entrepreneurship, and to provide them resources that add value to the existing vocational programmes that we have in our universities and training organisations. And also to add value to the business startups that adds value to what's already on offer. As I mentioned, we wanted this to be driven by entrepreneurs, but we was faced with the challenge of how to access these entrepreneurs when we were all locked in our homes across Europe and across the world. So we needed to analyse the needs of our entrepreneurs, but we were now doing this in a different environment than we started our project back in 2019. So the first thing that we did was to do an online survey, and again we utilised our BusyNet network to do this, so that we could get the survey out to as many people as possible across Europe. We also wanted to do, as we did in previous projects, we did face-to-face focus groups, but of course we weren't able to do that, so we had to come up with a way of actually engaging with the right entrepreneurs and attracting them to want to speak to us, and the challenge of how we actually did that when we were not face-to-face. So what we did was we created an online event which we attracted speakers to on the subject of burnout, so that hopefully then got the entrepreneurs interested and they attended our online events and then took part in our focus groups as part of that event, to get their views on the effects of entrepreneurship and how they deal with the challenges of entrepreneurship, and get their views on what they think is needed to support them and younger entrepreneurs coming in the future. And I'll come on to the state of the art report afterwards, actually. So what did we learn from our entrepreneurs through our survey and from our focus groups? Well, the main findings of our online survey, we had 300 respondents to our survey, which concluded pretty much that the COVID crisis had undoubtedly made the previous year very stressful for entrepreneurs. The main source of support that they seemed to turn to was family and friends and personal connections with other entrepreneurs through the networks that they were involved in. Less so the formal education process wasn't helpful for them, particularly at that time. It was more of a focus on the network and knowing other entrepreneurs. So peer learning, case studies, testimonies and mentorship seemed to be something that was quite important coming through from our online survey. And noting there at the end of my slide there, the age effect, obviously younger people felt that they had different needs than the older entrepreneurs. In our focus groups, we had 30 participants from different forms of enterprise, and we posed them key questions like, how did they what did they find the most helpful to them in avoiding or relieving psychological distress? How did they cope with psychological distress? And what areas did they feel that they needed more knowledge in to help them maintain a healthy work-life balance? And how would they best like to actually receive that? What would the best way for them to actually have that accessible to them? Again, there was a very much an emphasis on the importance of network that came throughout of our focus groups, and self-reflection and self-analysis was also key as well, because a lot of the entrepreneurs actually said that they didn't always recognize themselves when they were actually at that point of stress and needing support. So it was that, again, that network and the peer support was very important to them. So we've taken all of the information that we've researched and that we've spoken to our entrepreneurs about, and we've produced a state-of-the-art report, which was one of our first intellectual outputs actually, which will be available on our project website very soon. And our state-of-the-art report looks at the current landscape from a variety of different perspectives, and different parts of the projects. I mentioned we have universities, we have enterprises, and we have networks in there, and social enterprises. So we've all taken a different view within the report. The university partners have looked at the academic research relevant to the topic of entrepreneurship and mental well-being, and they've also introduced some of the projects that they're already working on in their universities to assist in this. Our Portuguese partner is a social enterprise, and they're looking at the social enterprise sector. And the Nordic EdTech Forum looked at the case studies and the discussions directly from their network in Northern Europe and the Baltic states and Scandinavia. So what's next for our project? I'll move my cross. Well, with travel becoming more accessible to us now, our project team is actually going to meet for the very first time in over a year in Portugal next week, ahead of the BusyNet annual conference in Vila Moura, and we plan to review what we've looked at so far and make those important decisions about what our training and teaching and learning materials will actually look like. Our first ideas, our initial ideas that we've discussed obviously online, we've met very regularly online during the life of the project. So taking from what our entrepreneurs have told us, we wanted to base our training materials on real life scenarios, real life entrepreneurs' experiences. So our ideas that will provide a number of video-based, podcast-based in short information films to help people to recognise themselves within those films and decide how they might get support, and then do that onwards signposting to support and mentorship. We're also looking at the academic side in terms of producing teaching cases, which will be more in-depth case studies to help students to self-analyse and find that support before they need it, really. And also looking at diagnostic tools to help people to recognise when they require support. I think I shall skip that one. It's about that how we're looking to build our teaching cases. It's a 5-step process to building a teaching case, and we will be interviewing entrepreneurs to try and draw out the areas that we feel that those teaching cases need to be on. And that's something that we'll be deciding next week in our face-to-face meetings. So we've still got lots of questions. If you've got any questions, obviously you can ask them at the end of this session, but if you wanted to get in contact with the team actually and get involved more and learn about it, you can visit our website for the project, which is on the screen at the moment. We've got a QR code there, and it's our name, entreemwb.eu. You can drop us a line, ask us a question, and we'll post any further future events that we have coming up on that website as well. Okay, so that's our project EntreMWB. I'm going to hand over to Rob now, who's going to tell you about another project with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Thank you, Yvonne. That
Thank
was
you.
very full. As Yvonne said, we can take questions at the end, but also if anyone wants to put them into the message board, I will see them and get them answered for you at the very end of the event. Thank you. Rob, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yvonne and David. I will share my screen for a next short presentation. And I think it is there now, or it's coming. Yeah, and if you take a look at this project is also set up within the BusyNet network. And as I am Rob de Wit, and I'm for 12 years member, about 12 years member of the BusyNet network, first only due to my advanced university job and having my own company, I decided to become a member as an associate member because I felt the need to cooperate on an international level more and more. And talking about my job within BusyNet, I am the chair of the entrepreneurship working group. We were talking about entrepreneurship, and talking about entrepreneurship means sharing best practices about entrepreneurship education, and talking about best practices about entrepreneurship in education, which means there are real entrepreneurs in education. Together with my experience of sustainability in general, and the focus on the introduction and action on the global goals as from 2015, we combined this because we felt that talking about entrepreneurship, it's not only talking about an economic value, but it's also talking about the social part of the business, the social value. And if we talk about the social part, we talk about social entrepreneurs. And then the third way, the social part of entrepreneurship came up. And we decided to go for an Erasmus KA2 application together with a number of participants, which I will show in a minute. And talking about the third way, it's the development of a new curriculum. And do understand, this is set up before COVID came in. And we were talking about massive open online courses. We were talking about a digital way of learning for social entrepreneurs in vocational and higher education. So due to the time and due to what happened, we started becoming online, thinking about online education before we had to. And this was a really big advantage because we decided in our first and even last physical meeting in the Czech Republic, we started talking about building MOOCs, and we started a search for how we can do that in the most, let's say, economic way, the most best way, the most technical, perfect way, without spending lots of money in education. And talking about the third way, who were talking now? These organizations were talking, and also, as you saw by Yvonne, also here you see there are universities in Dresden, Avans University, Mendel in Brno, Czech Republic, UCLL in Belgium, but also the OWL Organizational Learning Center in the UK, Project Beyond Borders, and some organizations which are much more specialized as a social enterprise in, let's say, in the business part we would like to develop. So in this case, we sat together and we defined a number of 8 massive open online courses, and the MOOCs, as they are called, are just small MOOCs, and those MOOCs can be followed by everyone. So the website will be explained later on. You can do it, for example. You can just check it and try it. And if you are working with entrepreneurs or with social entrepreneurs, you can just hand over the website and they can just see what people from educational side say about the topics we mentioned. And the topics are a number of topics. I will show this later on. And now you see that the discussion came from the BusyNet network. We start to develop with all the partners together the ideas, and then we found within the network, we found the partners, and we added these partners with some social enterprises. And in general, in total, I must say, we have a really rich network with companies working on this project. The project is still going on, actually, a few months to go. And I will explain what's the last part we're working now in a minute. But first, I would like to say, show how let's say the name of the modules is set up and what we decided to create. And you see there is always an introductory model just to give a brief introduction about this website. And then you can learn some specifics around financial management, funding and tendering. And here I made a screenshot of all the 6 others: governance and leadership, impact management, management and leadership, social media, project management, and startup your business. So we believe this is a really wide range of topics included in this project website, which can be very helpful for entrepreneurs and for social entrepreneurs. And to give you an idea how the MOOCs are set up, I would like to lead you through one of the MOOCs. And it's not about what this lady, Sanne, one of the project management members, is saying at the moment, because it's really without ears in. It's maybe a little bit too not loud enough. But she will lead you through the website, and it's part of the introduction. So if you have let's say a minute, just watch this video, and then I'll come back to you.
No sound, Rob.
No, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's a brief introduction of the module management and leadership. And there we go. And you see always on the left side, when you're following a MOOC, you see the index, and you can go back, you can go further, and so on and so on. You don't hear a sound at this moment. There is no sound at this moment. This is just an overview, a small video, how it's built. And I can explain it a little bit. So you see text, you see videos, you see extra videos to read, just to go in depth if you have if you need some extra information. You see, I think, modules and let's say educational stuff coming by. You have more documents to read. You can click on that. And so we lead you as an let's say as an experience. We lead you through those modules going on, and it's almost there. At the end of every module, there is a test. So it's an interesting part now, because if you take a look at this test, you can just check if you learned something from the module. And as you can see, you fill it in. And at the end, it will give an immediate result back to the participant. So you can see if you did it, if you proceeded well, or maybe you have other questions. Here you see the results coming up. They are being recorded. And then there's only 1 out of 5 points. So it's a really easy test. It's a small test. It takes only a short time, a few minutes. And then you can take a look. You can take a look into the wrong answers and change these answers. There is one correct answer. And here you see a few more incorrects. And at the end, if you finished, you can go back to the third way and find another course. Looking at this management and leadership course, this is one of the 8 courses, plus the introductory course, one of the 8 courses. You will see that every MOOC, every course will have a course description on the beginning of the course. So you first can read what the content are. Then you see the chapters of a course. Which is in this case about 4 to 5 chapters. And at the end, you see the content if you click on the chapter and you see what's the really detailed content of the course. All those courses are built in the same way. This means, for us, it was very important. This means that you can recognize how it works, that there is not, let's say, a search for the right way of doing a course. And at the end, and this is one of the last extra topics we did, we made a registration at the beginning, but this means that if the course is done and succeeded, you can have a certificate automatically. And this is an interesting part for education, because this means if you bring in this into your education, it means that there is a proof given by the website automatically that you succeeded this course. So what we can do now, and we tried it in our university a few weeks ago, we just say to the students, go to the website, take 3 out of the 8 courses and prove that you've done it. And the proof can be taken into account if we talk about ECTS, for example, if you talk about the study points for students. So an interesting extra we brought in. And within the project, we have another one, because this is a screenshot of the first page, and below you see an internship in a social enterprise. And one of our objectives was to create an environment where students or entrepreneurs who are really interested can find an internship or can find someone who can help them to the next level. We brought it in. We are building this now in the last phase of the project, coming together in March, end of March, in Spain. So we had a first meeting. I mean, the last meeting we will have to finalize the internship program. But the internship program means that we connect the students to the existing opportunities within Erasmus, and there are a lot, because the Erasmus internship funding is an existing one, and I think in exchange of students, we know exactly what it is. But there is also an Erasmus Young Entrepreneurs system, or at least opportunity for funding, which is interesting for entrepreneurs, because within the system in Erasmus, the coordinators will search for the right coach for you as an entrepreneur, and then you can make a decision on go to that internship abroad most of the time. And if you are really on the social way, there is a Solidarity Corps, European Solidarity Corps, where you can find a social internship and where you can find something to work on that. So in total, I think we have a project which is really complete, which is rich with the modules we created, plus an extra if you want to go in depth as a participant or as a student or as an entrepreneur. If you want to go in depth, you just can click. And we always say you are 2 or 3 mouse clicks away from an internship, which might help you to a next level in entrepreneurship. And this is created by the BusyNet group of members through BusyNet. It's discussed in BusyNet. And at the end, with all the partners, we worked for about, I think, 24 months already, and we have a delay of 6 months due to, let's say, difficulties due to COVID. In a few months, we will finalize this project. But at the time being, the website is live, www.thethirdway.eu. And if you take a look at this screen and you take a picture of it or you put your camera on it, you will be led to the website. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Rob. Can I just ask you, can you clarify who this program is for? Who are these courses available to?
Courses are available to everyone. That in the first place. We made it for vocational students and for students in higher education. But if it, as it is an open system, it's available for everyone in the world who want to join this. And this is, I think, an extra funded by the EU, but it's an extra for everyone who needs some more information about entrepreneurship, about social entrepreneurship.
So anyone watching this can actually adopt these courses as part of programs they already offer, or as additionalities to what they offer already?
Sorry, it's open for everybody. Everybody can use it. There are no restrictions on that. So if anyone is interested, you just can use it. And if there are questions, you can ask questions. That's for sure through the website. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Does anyone in the audience have any questions, please? Can you please place them on your screen?
Whilst people are doing that, I just wanted to add, so obviously I've been working on the Third Way project with Rob and with David as well. And I think and I've actually had the job of reading absolutely everything and making sure that everything's in the right order and everything works and is proofread. So I've read everything. And I think the thing that really strikes me about the project is it's clearly driven by the entrepreneurs. Again, we used focus groups, we used surveys, speaking to real life entrepreneurs, not just what academia wants to put out there, but it's actually driven by the entrepreneurs, the things that they needed, the things that they felt that they lacked in education. So this course incorporates all of those things that we didn't feel that were already there in the curriculum.
Okay, can I ask you, Rob, can you explain the process about how this project came about? What phases did you go through within the BusyNet network to actually establish writing this project?
Yeah, I think it's years ago, as I was the, let's say, the first chair of the entrepreneurship working group. In the entrepreneurship working group, we had a discussion how we could cooperate actually within the partners and the network of BusyNet. And then we said this could be done by, let's say, a mutual advantage and looking at the Erasmus Plus projects. And together with Project Beyond Borders, together with some other partners, we started discussion. Discussion about how we could bring this to a good application actually. And within the network, it's interesting to realize that the network is big, but the network members, they also know other members. And at the end, you saw that we brought in, or new members, new participants were brought in by the BusyNet members. And this was really enriching for the project, because then we saw that, for example, the Technical University in Dresden was involved in this project and is now part of the team actually. So the process was really looking to cooperate on this KA2 level. And then we have the BusyNet meetings we had, and we will have, but we had the BusyNet meetings where it is not full of presentations, but there's a lot of time to discuss ideas and to reach other people, other attendees of the BusyNet meetings. And this was really helpful to create a team to cooperate. And at the end, yeah, then someone was writing, and we were all proofreading. We had lots of discussions, and then you see that the project team is formatted, and at the end, the application is brought to the portal of the EU. Yeah.
Yeah. With these ideas, do they always have to be funded projects, or can there be non-funded projects also?
It's both possible. As we take a look at the entrepreneurship working group, I see that members of this working group, and it's in every working group we have within BusyNet, you see that there are sometimes really small projects, or as I told you, and as you see behind me, as I'm a specialist in sustainability, I found through the BusyNet that in the Netherlands and other universities really specialized, and now we see that the researchers and the lecturers are just working together and trying to pick up projects or doing research together to come to a next level. So it's absolutely not only the funded projects. It's cooperation on everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can I just encourage anyone, if you have any questions, if you just put them into the message box, we can address your questions. So I was just to clarify something Rob said, there's actually 14 different working groups. So you've got different concepts and different ideas and different suggestions coming from all 14 of the different groups. And when one group has a good idea, you tend to find that other groups take that idea on board and develop it in their group also. So at the moment, we have a series of student events going on, which we call Busy Days. And Busy Days are usually between 3 days to 5 days, where students will attend an event which is organised by one of the member colleges. But we also have some of those days which are which grow into something more. One of those is called the International Trade Mission, and Rob has been involved in that in the past, and that is actually taking place in Madrid in 2 weeks' time. And there's 120 students from 17 institutions meeting together in Madrid to promote company from their areas. So, Yvonne, could I just ask you one question, please? There's a cost involved in being a member of BusyNet. It is a member organisation, so all members pay a fee. How can you justify being in an organisation where you have to pay a fee? Is it cost effective?
Well, I would say it's definitely cost effective. In fact, I wouldn't say that, I have to justify it, actually. I couldn't justify not being in BusyNet, actually. It's really important for us as an organisation. One of the major things that we work on are European projects or other projects. So our involvement in BusyNet is vital for us. We wouldn't be in the Third Way, we wouldn't be in the Entree MWB without that network to access those people and the opportunities for those discussions at in the working groups, at the conferences, but also, as you know, online. We've met more regularly actually online over one of the benefits of the pandemic. We've come together more often. So I couldn't not justify it, because the cost is it generates our interest in projects, in developing networks, in developing relationships with other organisations from around Europe, and now, of course, wider than Europe, outside of Europe.
Yeah, and the outputs of both the Third Way and the Entre MWB, they will be open to everyone. So although the work is being done within BusyNet or within our networks, that is open to everyone.
That's right. Yes, yes. Anybody can access the materials once they're produced. Like with the Third Way, anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're at a university or an entrepreneur. That's why they're completely open source. You can dip in and out whenever you like, and just take the parts that you want. There's no charge, and anybody around the world can access them 24/7.
Well, thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Rob, for sharing your experiences with us and with everyone who's viewing. it's been a very enjoyable session, I believe, from my point of view. So I hope everyone else has enjoyed it too. So thank you very much. And that is the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.